The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamite, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
Drop them off at school and tell the school to deal with it.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. That is right. It is Wednesday. It's Hump Day, March 27th, and today is National Scribble Day for all you emerging artists out there. It's also National Little Red Wagon Day. I feel like it needs to be Little Red Rider Day, too, with a BB gun, so you could do a drive-by in your little red wagon. But it's also National Spanish Paella Day, and... oh, Rico, you're going to love this. It's National Joe Day.
Like a paella.
What do you think about National Joe Day?
What up, Joe?
No, not that Joe. You're supposed to go.
I call the other guy you talking about. I call the other guy you talking about either Robinette or Brandon.
Not well. It's not about that. It's not about Sleepy Joe. It's you're supposed to go today and have a cup of Joe with your friend Joe. But nonetheless, thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look down below on your screen to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on today only on YouTube, because I am steering the ship today. But nonetheless, we are going to kick it off today with the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamite, the happy cabbage man, who is still watching little baby Yoda. That's right, little baby Quasimodo in the background, just kicking around, hanging high with his happy cabbage hat on. That's right, is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamite.
I don't even know if we have applause right now, but
yeah, you can imagine your applause, Rico.
Yeah, just imagine.
Look, we got some couple golf claps. Yeah.
There we go.
Rico.
Oh boy, we gotta hype him up.
You'll
Yes.
have me the fuck up and everything. But you know who
Let's
needs
go.
a hug and who needs a hug and who needs some hypeness? San Fran. Because according to SF Gates Lester Black, the organizers of San Francisco's annual Hippie Hill Cannabis Festival for 420, they announced Monday that they will not be hosting the event this year, and per their website. So Hippie Hill's 420 celebration has roots back to the 60s, and it's known as the largest cannabis event in California. And it's usually free for everybody, but you can get VIP options and get a lot of perks with that. Sure, everybody in Northern California has been up there. I was looking forward to going this year, but I guess the party's off. So back in 2023, 20,000 people showed up to Golden State Park. According to the event's website, spectators are allowed to bring their own cannabis, but are encouraged to purchase from the vendors there. Organizers said that the citywide budget cuts and lack of sponsorships meant that they did not have enough resources to host this year's event. SF Recreation and Park Department confirmed the cancellation in a news release Tuesday, saying this: the cancellation of this year's event is a result of two key factors: economic challenges within the cannabis industry making sponsorships hard to secure, and city budget cuts impacting rec and parks' ability to cover staffing for the event. The city's asking for cannabis fans not to congregate in the park during this year's 420 holiday, which falls on a Saturday. Good luck with that. The park The park is instead going to be hosting a kickball and volleyball tournament organized by Volo Sports, a company that manages adult sports leagues in nearly a dozen cities, including San Fran, according to Tuesday's news release. There will be another event going on in Robin Williams Meadow, and we will have signage letting people know that 420 is not happening this year. And the department spokesperson, Daniel Montez, said to SF Gate. For decades, thousands of cannabis fans have gathered at Hippie Hill in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park for unofficial celebrations of 420, the annual cannabis holiday celebrated. And the gathering became a city-sanctioned event with security when it got out of control as legalization came to California back in 2016, 2017. So it's unclear what will happen if people continue to congregate this year for 420. And Montez did not confirm if the city will provide security or crowd control at the park. The city's news release directed the public to SF Weed Week events, a new multi-day cannabis festival modeled on the city's famous Beer Week. According to organizer David Downs, a senior editor at Leafly.com, Downs said that he expects thousands of people to attend their 420 party following the cancellation of Hippie Hill. California's cannabis industry has faced years of economic problems, widespread company failures, failing sales, and reduced tax revenue. Downs said that these economic problems made it hard for organizers to get the necessary sponsorships and raise money to throw the event at Golden Gate Park. Little history on the event. It went back to at least 1967, and as it started off as a protest event. I don't know if this means it's going to be the end of Hippie Hill, if they're going to be able to bring this back. But I know that a lot of events across the state, especially the large ones, have been struggling when it comes to raising the money needed for sponsorships to pay out their staff and to have the appropriate security there too. Anybody going out there in San Fran on 420, be careful, man. San Fran's kind of crazy right now, and they just said that they don't know if they're going to have security or not. But I'm Rico Lamite, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News. Anybody here going up to Hippie Hill on 420?
I mean, it sounds just like a whole nother day in San Francisco to me if there's no security.
Hippie Hill never really needs security anyway, and very rarely do weed events need security, period. But this is sad, you guys, and it's also a very big sign of the times.
Yes.
We talk a lot here about the different events that happen in our industry. I'm producing an event next weekend for the Women's Canna Awards, and I'll tell you right now that raising capital in the event space is incredibly difficult. If my staff at WCA was paid, this would not have worked. You really like to put on an event and an event that's sanctioned by the city where they have invested funds to help with security or, parking or directing traffic or whatever. It does take city money to produce something like that. And the fact that the city was in charge of making sure that cannabis operators are operating compliantly couldn't pull it off. Imagine how much more difficult it is for people in the cannabis space who are just trying to produce events that don't have city funding. Something to think about. It's really interesting. And
I think I would encourage all the hippies that we're going to go to Hippie Hill to just storm City Hall in San Francisco on 420.
that would be hilarious.
Jason, you sounds like you're inciting a riot. Sounds like
Jason, we cannot encourage insurrection on San Francisco.
I mean, that's
Hippie Hill
capital.
Hippie Hill is like the 420 spot in NorCal. It has been for as long as I can remember. The first 420 that I got out last year, I spent on Hippie Hill tapping in with the comrades from all up north and just everybody in the industry. Shout out to Chemo. Shout out to Brandon at Third Gen. Erica Badu. I mean, it was one of the livest events I've ever been. There was tens of thousands of people there. I don't know how many people were actually there. And like how sometimes like at a Snoop Dogg concert or something, you can see kind of like a layer of smoke like over the crowd. Well, this one was like, there was such a thick cloud of smoke that you almost couldn't see the crowd. That's how much people were
I
smoking.
heard that.
And they had Ego Class had a dope competition up there. It really hurts me to see that this isn't going to happen this year. David Downs is a beast for pulling this off as long as he has. I know that they did everything they could to try to pull this off again. I'm not sure what the situation was with the city. I feel like an event like this that brings tens of dozens of thousands of, let's say 30,000 people to your city. If it brings 30,000 people to your city, you should be able to say, hey, look, what's the ROI on that? Let's just look at this from a business point of view and say, this influx of money into our city is enough to kind of offset some of the police fees and things and traffic fees that we're going to have going on.
Now, normally,
probably significantly.
Normally, I
Go
would
ahead, Jay.
agree with that statement, Luke. But I don't think that anybody that's traveling to San Francisco wants to stop anywhere in San Francisco to spend any money at any of these businesses. They want to get in and get out as fast as they got in there.
Perhaps, but if you've ever been to Hippie Hill on 420, you're there all day, brother, and you're going to be eating in San Francisco somewhere at some point in time.
You're there all day, which means you would spend money there. But as far as other businesses benefiting from the city, I'm not too sure that would be a realistic thing right now.
What I experienced is, especially the businesses that were around Golden Gate Park, it was huge lines. Like, to get pizza, it took me I think an hour and a half just to get a slice of pizza out of one of the joints. So just seeing that type of thing, just seeing that type of outpour and support of all the local businesses in the area, to me it would make sense to offset it. I don't know, but again, and this is the funny part, or not the funny part, but this is the beautiful part of our culture. You can tell us not to do something, but Hippie Hill's been going on since 1967. The city could say don't go there and smoke weed, but guess what? Right. Yeah. People are going to go there and smoke weed because it started as a protest. It continues to be a protest. Last year it was a protest, and we're in the middle of rec laws in California. That's how it goes down in Hippie Hill. This is not a commercial, I understand what Rico said about all the influxes and external factors going on in the industry and in the corporate level of the industry. Hippie Hill don't really see that effect on there, other than maybe booth space and stuff like that. Maybe some guys, like some of the larger corporations, didn't have a booth space there or whatnot, and that maybe took away from some of the sponsorship funding. I get that part of it, but it's really a cultural event. So the culture of Hippie Hill really doesn't rely on the fluctuations of the industry. That event is going down, period.
I mean, maybe all of the hippies. Go ahead, Rico. Go ahead.
I was gonna say a question, Luke. Do you think this could be a return to the awesome events of the past that weren't so super corporate?
Yeah, you're starting to see some of that now. I think you're starting to see, at the beginning, everybody felt I'm doing something that even has cannabis at the event. Say it's not even a cannabis sales event or anything. Like Hippie Hill, they're not selling cannabis there. There's not stores there that you go in to buy. I'm sure you could get delivery service and all that, but it's just people bringing their own cannabis, consuming there on site, right? So what you're seeing there in situations like this now is people had a reactionary thing at the beginning of rec laws to say, oh, we have to always ask the DCC. We always ask the city, ask these things. But what we're starting to see now is hey, we are private businesses. This is the private market. These are private entities. We can have celebrations and come together and have private parties and private celebrations without having to have the city and DCC involved, as long as you're not doing any of the commerce and stuff that have to go on inside of that. And that's totally okay. So people have to return back to the roots of where this plant connected people. The plant connected people just because we loved the plant. It didn't connect people necessarily because we were all seeking to make money on it. And that's, I think, the difference.
Well, speaking of reconnecting to the original,
I like the positive.
You like the positive?
I'm just saying, I like the positiveness. We can make something positive out of this, man.
Well, let me tell you what will probably be the most positive thing that happens at this year's Hippie Hill is, just like you said, Luke, going back to its roots. So hopefully all of the hippie vendors that would walk around Hippie Hill selling their humble birdseed, humble goo balls to everybody will probably turn a profit this year, because there'll be a very big lack of vendors.
Listen, Mr. Jason, you've been removed from the Bay for a long time, and I don't appreciate you disparaging my people over in the Bay Area. Listen, if you guys want to, I'm going to post Jason's home address in the chat here. You guys go over and tell him what you think.
Go for it. Go for it. And I encourage all of my hippies up there up north to migrate from Hippie
Go protest on Jason's lawn.
Go protest out front at City Hall and tell London Breed about herself and why is she withholding funds from allowing the hippies to have a festive
Make no
420.
mistake, Hippie Hill is still going to happen. The city's just not going to be there helping put it on. It's still going to happen. People will still be there. There will still be lots of.
I wonder what they're doing with the money that they would have spent on this because they're not putting it towards law enforcement or fighting crime or cleaning up the streets.
You guys remember the year? You guys remember the year that they tried to say that they weren't going to do Burning Man, and then Burning Man still happened? Like, it's still happening. Go to Hippie Hill.
It's still happening. Well, on that, we're going to go to a commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh, man, that was weird. Hey, you, America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And all what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
Oh, yes, and we're back, Rico. We are back.
All right. Y'all know who it is coming up. The grouchiest man in morning talk, news and opinion in the cannabis industry. The man who's against Hippie Hill and against all things that make you smile. And the man who doesn't believe in facts unless they're coming from his side. You know who it is. Jason.
Oh man, you know, Rico, I mean, when the truth is the truth, bro, you can't get away from the truth, you guys. But
only when it favors you, right?
Well, you're so cute, Rico, so cute, man. I'll tell you what, keeping the stories in San Francisco, I have a San Francisco story for you, Rico. Are you ready for this? Because Cookies
Come on with it.
Cuts ties with its lone San Francisco marijuana store, you guys. Cookies, the most recognizable brand in cannabis, traces its origins to San Francisco and the pre-legalization marijuana underground in the city that's considered by many to be the birthplace of the legal industry in America. That part is true. But as of earlier this year, there is no longer a Cookies branded marijuana store in San Francisco. The brand terminated the licensing agreement it had with Burners on Hate, an adult use marijuana store that's borne the name of the Cookies co-founder since 2020, company president Parker Burling told MJ Biz Daily. Exactly what happened is still a mystery, as the involved parties are not discussing details publicly. However, both the store and the iconic brand are currently battling unrelated lawsuits, including a wrongful termination complaint filed by a former employee at Burners on Hate. Like other Cookies-branded cannabis stores across the United States, the company did not directly own or operate Burners on Hate, named after the brand's co-founder and public face, San Francisco native Burner, whose legal name is Gilbert Malam Jr. Located in San Francisco's legendary Haight-Ashbury neighborhood, Burners on Hate was also the first social equity dispensary to open for business in the city. The store's ownership team includes people with close relationships to San Francisco Mayor London Breed, which critics claimed played a role in its first mover status. On January 24th, the store's owners informed city marijuana regulators that it was ending its branding partnership with Cookies Cannabis, according to an email obtained by MJ Biz Daily via public records request. In quotes, "This means we will be removing any elements of Cookies IP and changing the store's name, as that it is a reference to Cookies CEO," wrote Connor Johnston, whom public records identify as one of the members of Cole-Ashbury Group, the entity that holds the store license. The use of the marijuana's most recognizable names and its unparalleled branding power, in quotes, was always complementary to our business, not fundamental, Johnson said in an email. And Johnson served as Breed's chief of staff when she was on the city's board of supervisors, and neither Johnston nor Sean Richard, a longtime violence prevention advocate in the city, who is the store's qualified social equity applicant, responded to MJ Biz Daily requests for comments. Burners on Hates is now Blaze on Hate. The store's Weed Maps menu still lists Cookies branded cannabis for sale, including a strain named after R&B singer Erykah Badu, who actually will be making an appearance at the Women's Canna Awards this weekend. But Burling, who is understood to handle most of Cookies' business dealings with Malam, focuses on branding and the company's immense social media presence, told MJ Biz Daily via email, and the brand made the decision to cut ties with the store. In quotes, Cookies elected to terminate the relationship but cannot make further comment at this time, Burling wrote. Meanwhile, a Cookies clothing store still operates 2 blocks from Blaze on Hate, and Burling, Malam, and other company are facing multiple lawsuits from investors as well as their retail partners, and one lawsuit filed by Southern California-based Cookies Retail LLC, the brand's partner in 33 stores operating across the country, claims $100 million in damages. Another suit filed by investors last summer claimed Milan and Burling used investor cash as a slush fund that also diverted money to separate companies they owned, resulting in a missing $275 million valuation. Burners on Hate seemed at one time to enjoy a closer relationship to the Cookies mothership. In a 2019 San Francisco Chronicle story published before the store opened, Richard described Milan as an investor and management partner. In quotes, equity partners have to have some type of big funding, Richard told the newspaper, which noted that the store was under Malam's direction. In quotes, Cookies was the funding to help us open the store, and they understand the equity plan, Richard added. Richard is handling his own legal headache. A former employee fired a wrongful termination lawsuit against Cole-Ashbury Group last May. In a complaint filed in San Francisco Superior Court, Mia Robinson claimed Richard regularly made unwelcome sexual advances after her October 2020 hiring. Robinson claims she rejected Richard's advances but was removed from the work schedule and not paid back wages as retaliation, according to her complaint. Micah Thompson, Robinson's Vallejo, California-based attorney, did not return MJ Biz's daily request for a comment, and in January of 2024, filing attorneys for Cookies denied Robinson's allegations. The case is scheduled to go to trial, according to court records, and asked if Richard's suit weighed on Cookies' decision to cut ties. Burling declined to comment. There are actually 20 Cookies-branded dispensaries in California, according to state and business records, including Bay Area locations in Hayward and Oakland, and another 5 stores operate under the affiliated Lemonade brand. Well, you guys. Man, oh man. No more Burners on Hate. No more Hippie Hill. Hot 420 celebration. This is just more and more degradation happening in San Francisco, and sounds like it's all at the behest of Mayor London Breed, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Hold on. I'm going to go ahead and nix that narrative right now. That's a false narrative, people. Do not listen to what Jason's saying.
I don't know.
What this is right here, it's really simple. It's really simple. This has nothing to do with the culture. It has nothing to do with anything. What was it, sexual assault or rape or something? And Cookies cut ties.
Oh, you said really rape. My article didn't say rape. It just said sexual advances.
I don't know what it was.
I don't know.
What I'm saying is there was some type of sexual assault allegations to the effect of with one of the owners who wasn't even the social equity applicant, but was speaking on behalf of social equity applicants, which is really funny. That's like me speaking on behalf of prisoners, but never have been to prison. I don't know. But anyway, what I'm going to say is, listen, if we have a business partner and it comes out that you did some funny style stuff with some sexual stuff with kids, women, girls, any of that stuff, listen, we cutting ties with you too. I don't want no part of any of that mess. And if you really did do it, shame on you, and you should be held accountable.
I'm not mad at that.
I think their biggest problem is that they tried to expand across the country and they smelled a lot like franchises, but they violated the federal franchise laws. And I've done a bunch of these management services agreements, and can put morals clauses in it and all sorts of things. You have a termination date or a way to terminate them. I think that this began to smell a whole lot to a lot of people from different directions, and they started cutting ties. And inside cookies, they were cutting ties with each other. So this is a mess that hasn't unfolded yet. And I can tell you, I do some labor board work, and I represent businesses where there's been accusations of things happening. And what I find helpful in the industry is every employee's on video. Every day they're in one of these businesses. And I got a case right now. I just remind them that everything that woman did and said was on video. So let's put her under oath and start flapping your gums, lady. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because I've taken the stand and testified against a former law firm I worked at where they were putting their hands on women and doing other hinky things. So it does happen. You can also end up in a position where if I just make the claim, it's going to cost the business $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 to get it to go away. So it's a lot like the disability. Oh, the slant of your ramp is a little too, light there. We're going to make a claim against you. I don't know if any of that's true. I just know it gets muddled up, and Cookies has got their tit in the ringer here. I don't know how they're going to get out of this. They've got lots of problems going on from all sorts of different directions.
Everyone's trying to take a bite of
So
the cookie.
San Francisco.
Yeah.
The question is it?
Well, when money starts disappearing, people start asking questions, and at some point, you got to pony up what you were doing.
Well, this
And that's where the rubber meets
this
the road
article
here.
referenced $275 million that's missing, Dale.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm not surprised. There's some scandalous people out there, stuff their pockets, buy their girlfriends BMWs, whatever. Scandalous.
I mean, you can buy a lot of BMWs with $275 million.
But a lot of coke up your
You can buy
nose
the
too.
whole
Don't
lot.
fix your problems.
I mean, listen, again, like stuff like this, I hate to even give any of it validity because these are all like allegations. Oh, there's missing this, there's this happened. Like, you can't say, we don't know, nobody knows what happens. There's another side of the story that says there's minority owners in Cookies that are trying to do some funny style hostile takeover shit and X the culture out of that whole entire business. You know what I'm saying? So there's multiple narratives that are going on here. My point is this though, is like, if you come into this game, right, and you don't do things correctly, it's no different than how the game was back when we first started this game. If you do not do things correctly, it comes back to you. Now, it might come back to you in lawsuits or sexual assault allegations or cut ties with companies or whatever it looks like in today's world. But the game has not changed. Do good business. Do business right. Say what you're going to do and follow through on it. Be an honorable person. Don't harass your workers. Create an environment that is productive and positive. I mean, these are simple things that you figure like, we don't really have to reteach this stuff. You just have to do it.
I have a question for you guys. I find it interesting and a little kind of halfway hypocritical, I guess, maybe, the fact that they said that they're cutting ties with Cookies as far as with this store, but yet they're still selling, carrying Cookies branded product.
Right. That's what I mean by the deceptiveness of it. You're not cutting ties with Cookies. Cookies kicked you to the curb because you had a sexual assault allegation. Like, let's keep this 100. You aren't cutting ties with anybody. And you're keeping Cookies in the store because probably the majority of people that roll through that door are still looking for Cookies, at least for the immediate future.
Absolutely.
Bennett.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, it's one of the most highly purchased brands in the world. It probably is the most highly purchased brand in the world. So it'd be silly for them to get rid of it. And also, they didn't really go straying too far off from the name. It still feels similar.
You mean Blazers on hate is not the same as Burners on hate?
I mean, when I saw Blazers, I was like, "Are you telling me that they got Blaze POS to invest in this store?" That was my exact thought.
I mean, you look at New York; they couldn't use their name in New York, and it's Culture House instead of Cookies in Manhattan. Still going there.
You're super low, Rico.
Right?
You went even lower than you were before.
Volume.
Yeah, your volume is.
You
way
know
down
what
low.
it is.
There we go.
There you go.
There you
There you
go.
go.
I can hear you
Just
again now.
at the max now.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just like in New York, where they had to change their name to Culture House. Like people are going there for cookies. They're going there for the brand.
Well, aren't they
The
going there
demand
for
is
the
not going to
culture?
go away.
Aren't they going there for the culture? Culture House.
That's the house of culture now,
Mhm,
so I guess they are.
mhm.
But
Speaking of,
yeah, I agree with you, Luke. Like 100%. Like it's a messy situation, and cookies is getting hit from all sides. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, and but it's not going to stop their brand. The brand is as strong as ever, and they're going to continue doing what they do. So, yeah, we can't speak on these allegations because they're just allegations at this point. But we'll be following the story as it goes on, and
oh, we
Absolutely.
definitely
it's
going to
rough.
follow this story. We're going to put
It's been
we're going to put a
couple
little
months.
tracker on this story.
Yeah, it's been a rough couple of months for
Sure.
a rough year plus for cookies. So, but the brand is still strong as fuck though.
Listen.
So
I'll tell you what, Cookies
Yeah.
is definitely stronger than that bridge in Maryland.
Ooh,
Well, yes, this is true.
Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. And on that, we're
Yeah,
going to
that
roll.
bridge crumbled.
Exactly. Well, coming up next, we're going to roll into our feisty attorney, who is the founder of Armada Law Practice, and at one point in time did some time for a cannabis crime. That's right. It is none other than attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schaefer.
Good morning, everybody. Once again, I'm unsupervised and off my meds, so you never know what's going to come out of
Here
me.
we go.
This morning's story is building on the theme of scandalous son of a bitches in the industry. And I typically dump on attorneys because I've been one for a long time, and I got a little sour taste in my mouth for a lot of attorneys. But it also involves a law firm that tried to get rid of a scandalous client, and it was very difficult for him. This comes out of Michigan, and there's a guy. His name is Shoemake, and it seems that in 2017 he got himself in some trouble with some fraudulent scheme he was involved in Michigan. And typically, out of those types of cases, you end up being restricted from being involved in raising money, securities, being involved in running companies. So what this guy did is he went out to a crowdfunding business and did 2 rounds of crowdfunding. But rather than do it in his own name, he brought a couple people in, be CEOs of companies that were set up that were supposed to be cannabis real estate companies. And this guy was in the background pulling the strings. And they did 2 rounds of funding. And it turns out that they were shoveling money from the funding into, or this is the allegations from the Securities and Exchange Commission, that they were shoveling money into their own pockets. I'm just totally shocked that people would do that, but here we are. So the SEC filed a suit against these folks. And of course, Mr. Shoemake went out and hired a lawyer. And I've been brought into cases before where somebody needs you, they put some money in your retainer, you start working for them, the next thing you know, you're finding out stuff that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. And at some point, Mr. Shoemake went to court and changed his name officially and didn't notify the court that he was a plaintiff in the case and he'd gone to some other state and changed his name, which as an attorney should, make the hair in the back of your neck stand up a little bit, like what the is going on here, okay? And so this guy has stiffed his attorneys, which is a bad thing to do when you're in litigation, but it creates problems for the law firm. So what we find in the legal business is, there's the old adage is that 80% of your money is made by 20% of your clients. The goal is to find those clients that the 20% pay 80% and get more of them than 20%. When you find out you got 80% of your clients making 20% of your money or dragging you down, you got to try to cut them loose. Because practicing law is a business. Our bread and butter is our time and our experience. And when we go into court especially, and we appear on your behalf, we expect to get paid. Because if you don't pay us at some point, we're going to be knocking on the judge's door. It's like, hey, I want out of this thing. That's what this case is about. I've got up today. Because the attorney that tried to get out of this case had also been trying to get paid. Apparently, they were behind $36,000, which in an SEC case is not that much. But still, how do you get that far behind in your payments to your attorney without your attorney sending you the Dear John letter? Done. We're done. I don't know exactly how they got that far into this, But the attorney that he'd hired went into court and asked the court for permission to withdraw. Once you're engaged in a case, you can't just hire your client and walk away. You've got to go into court. You got to ask permission. And it seems that Mr. Shoemake, who had changed his name, and I can't remember his name now. It was, some bullshit name he pulled out of his ass. He agreed to let him out. But then you still got to go to court, and they fought this thing. Now, the judge finally let the attorney out, but this guy, Mr. Shoemake, whatever he changed his name to, had filed personal bankruptcy and thought this is going to stop everything. And the SEC said, no, these are police powers. Bankruptcy doesn't stop police powers. So they've also got a class action suit against Mr. Shoemake and all the other people who settled out and had to disgorge money and got fined. So this will go on further down the line as people try to claw back the money they threw into this business and went up somebody's nose or into a BMW or in their girlfriends or whatever they do with the money that comes in like this. Oh, this is a cautionary tale out there that if you don't pay your attorneys, you can end up paddling that canoe all by yourself. And be careful when you invest money because there's scandalous people out there doing crowdfunding. But when the SEC comes in, it looks at everything you said, looks at your websites, all the things you put out there publicly, the people you put in place. You're going to get spanked, okay? Because this is scandalous stuff. And a lot of people I know that were out there saying things about, oh, this is what we can do, and we'll do this for you, and just give us money. If you don't have the expertise, and in this case, they claimed they had, real estate expertise. They didn't know shit about real estate. All those things can come back to haunt you. So be careful of who you get involved with. Be careful of putting your money in companies. If you don't pay your lawyer, shit can go south on you real quick. Roll back at you. What do you guys got to say about this?
Dale, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes?
Go for
yes?
it, Rico.
All right. I know this motherfucker. Robert Shoemake?
Wait, you know him or you've heard of him?
No, I know him. So he was, Ebony Magazine, I did a virtual event for Juneteenth talking about the cannabis opportunity for Black folks back in 2020 after George Floyd. And he was the interim CEO of a company that took over Ebony Magazine when they went bankrupt. He did not pay me. He did not pay my workers for the virtual event. Brought in 52 speakers from 6 countries, was not paid. This motherfucker's been in the wind. And now he's popping up calling himself
Bobby Jaffe or something like that.
Bobby Jaffe, like Prince Jeffrey Jaffe.
Yeah.
Like, shout out. I'm gonna call some folks in Detroit. I know some folks that he owes money too.
Oh boy.
And no, screw this dude, man. He's been scamming for a long time, and he was trying to hit up a bunch of my people out here, and I told him, I was like, don't come out here until you pay the fuck up. So goddamn.
Well,
I was over here Googling, making sure like it's the same person. Yeah, Robert Shoemake is the guy. Like I had a suit out on him. I sued his ass back in the day. Was in the fucking wind. I guess he changed his name, and the amount of money that he owed me wasn't enough for me to go after him. It would have been more legal fees for me to do this. But I hope this guy gets his ass whooped straight up. Like straight
he didn't learn a lesson.
And yeah,
he didn't learn no lessons. Yeah, well, back in the day,
penny stocks. The last time I saw him.
Well, what happens if you don't learn your lesson? You end up being part of a bridge somewhere. This guy's going to keep this up until the streets take care of him. Streets will take care of this guy. He didn't learn his lesson. He was precluded from being. He was told legally you can't do this anymore. All right, I'll just hoodwink some people. Then you catch me, I'll change my name. No, this guy's if these allegations are true, he's a real piece of shit, and he'll get his justice someplace.
I guess
even
I'm
if
not
these allegations
advocating
are
it.
not true,
A
he
lot
is
of
innocent.
hoops to jump through. You
I
know,
know.
think about how difficult it is to do all of those things as opposed to just, I don't know, getting a real job and like, I don't know. I'm just saying, it's a lot of work.
You
A
mean
lot of
actually put in work and not con people and trick people? I mean,
Yeah,
there's a
I don't know.
concept.
I'll
Good
tell you
idea.
what.
I don't know.
The SEC
I like the
is a
pun there.
gnarly organization to have sniffing around your ass. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I hope he gets popped.
Yeah, this
Talk about the stress that you have to like be feeling every day. Either that or you're just like complete sociopath and you have no feelings whatsoever about people breathing down your neck every day. Like someone is hunting you down. And don't phase you.
exactly.
Showing up on your yacht.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know? Like
Thank you.
guys
but this-
falling out of helicopters, like landing on your boat.
Showing up on
right?
boats, raiding
Like,
both of your properties in
wrapping you
Miami
up with
and
zip
LA.
ties.
I'll tell you what. This guy should have
don't
got
know.
on.
There's a-
This guy should have got on Diddy's jet and
He
been
should.
on
Or
out.
like, you know, the beginning
Diddy's a skunk.
of like
Diddy,
any
man.
Tom Cruise movie, you know, like that.
That's just going to get worse. That's going to get worse, Luke. You know it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
gonna get
I don't
worse.
even really want to open up the whole Diddy thing because that's a whole can of worms. That's
Yep. And on that, we're going to go to a commercial and we're
I'm
going
not
to be
touching
right
it.
back.
I'm not.
I'm Jason. This is Smokey Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get yourself a stretch and smoke with Smokey Vanilla.
That's right, baby. I'm Smokey Vanilla with my background in kinesiology. I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on athletes who have chronic pain or injury due to their sport, or the legends of the chronic in the game, baby.
Oh, yeah. You know what it is? We just stretched and now we're going to smoke because you know what it is.
That's right. I love intuitively creating a session based on the individual I'm working with. We'll go through a few assessments, look at the past health history, injury, or anything that's still affecting you today, and create a customized session just for you. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we covered on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highatnightnews.com.
Get ready for the 20-year anniversary celebration of the Emerald Cup. The Emerald Cup will be held at the Henry J. Kaiser Center for the Arts in downtown Oakland, August 17th and 18th. Get your tickets now for best pricing. Cannabis categories include flower, pre-rolls, solventless concentrates, solvent concentrates, cartridges, edibles, topicals, tinctures, and alternative cannabinoids. So enter early for your chance to be a winner at the 20-year anniversary Emerald Cup competition.
I mean, on Friday
my
morning,
God.
why don't we
Yes.
do what?
Well, we're back, guys. We're back. We're back. We're back.
All right, up next, it is the lovely lady that goes by some as Carmen Sacramento. She is the head honcho of the Women's Canna Awards coming up this Saturday. If you're in LA, make sure you guys check that out. Get your tickets, and if you support your women. And she is a known mover and shaker who is an expert in edibles. Here to take us by storm, kicking us off on the second half of today's show, it is Mandy Tingler.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot hear myself.
We hear you.
Woo, 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 woo.
Wednesday. Today, well, this week actually is just like full of so much great momentum. My phone has just been going off all episode, but I can't wait for Saturday. If you haven't got your tickets for the Women's Canna Awards yet, get them now. There's literally only a few hours left to buy them. And when I say a few hours, I mean a few hours. There's no extensions here. Head count goes in first thing tomorrow morning. So buy them tonight. See you there. Erykah Badu will be there, and amongst another like plethora of wonderful people. The entertainment and after party is going to be spectacular. The food's going to be spectacular. The show's going to be spectacular. Be there. And on that note, I have some interesting news. You guys may remember that there was a raid not too long ago with our friends over at Seven Leaves. SF Gate comes to us with a headline reading, California cops forced to return $800,000 in pot after controversial raid. American police have been seizing cannabis for decades, but the tables were turned last week when law enforcement in a California city was forced to return hundreds of pounds of cannabis to a pot distributor. Costa Mesa police officers returned the massive shipment of cannabis last week to Seven Leaf, a cannabis distributor in the city, according to the Los Angeles Times. The authorities had accused the company of illegally operating and seized the cannabis in September of last year. Michael Musali, the owner of Seven Leaf, told SF Gate that he was happy to get his cannabis back after his attorneys explained he was operating legally, but he still blamed the city for taking it in the first place and delaying its return. The sad thing is, once all this info was shared, there was no apologies. There was only more aggression, Musali said. Referencing the city's attempt to further delay the return of his products. He said the police were not happy that no charges were filed. The police were not happy that the product was being returned. Tony Dodaro, a spokesperson for the city of Costa Mesa, declined to comment on Tuesday. Musali said the cannabis the city returned had a wholesale value of around $800,000 and a retail value of $1.5 million to $2 million. He said some of the products we received back are now too old, which is more than 6 months after the initial raid, but he was not sure how much of this would actually be sellable. The return shipment is the latest in a long legal saga between Musali's business and the city of Costa Mesa. Musali is part of the owner of High Seas, a retail store in the city that sued Costa Mesa in November, alleging that the city broke the law by delaying the store's retail permit approval without giving any reason. September's raid came after authorities accused High Seas of illegally delivering cannabis through the Seven Leaves company prior to having a license, according to the LA Times. An undercover Costa Mesa police officer had placed an order through High Seas app and received products with High Seas branding that were delivered by a Seven Leaf employee, according to the Times. Costa Mesa authorities argued this amounted to High Seas and Seven Leaf illegally selling cannabis, since neither business had a license to deliver to customers. But Musali and his partners at Seven Leaf said they were only packaging cannabis product on behalf of High Seas, a common practice in the industry, and they were legally using a third-party delivery service to send the products to customers. The city settled the case in February and agreed to return the seized cannabis to Seven Leaf, and Musali agreed to pay for the legal costs of the case, he told. He also said he felt like he had been extorted by the city, but officials told him that they would not approve the permit for High Seas retail location while the investigation against Seven Leaf was still pending. The city held our permit hostage at High Seas, so I had no choice other than to settle. Otherwise, I would have ended up in court for 3 to 4 years, but nobody has time to sit on a multi-million-dollar investment, he says. He added that his Seven Leaf distribution company is now, quote, in severe financial turmoil and may go out of business because of the economic damages from the raid. The city should be paying me for ruining my business and doing what they did, but somehow I'm paying them because that was the only way to get my store opened here, he says. Now, you guys, there's a lot on this. I'm curious to see what you think. And all of this story, we covered it last September here on the news. So coming at you, what you got?
I'm glad they got
Be
there.
careful about shitting where you eat. That's what I tell my clients. Be careful of shitting where you eat, because inside the beltwaves, what you don't know, they don't say out loud, is that everybody cooperates. And they can drag their feet, they can slow things up, they can, there's probable cause to think there was administrative violation or a crime here. I mean, and I've been on both sides of this, and you get the ire up of people in positions of power, and it's hard to go and sue them for things just because they drug their feet or delayed stuff.
I'm glad that they got their stuff back, but I mean, it's like a year later, I mean, there's absolutely no value to any of the product that was returned.
Yeah. I mean, what are that's just all going to go to distillate,
not-
whatever that is. I mean, or
Mm.
the police didn't store it properly.
Well, what if it was finished product? I'm not sure if it could actually go to distillate if it was finished product.
I mean, if it's like
You could do cold
topicals
cure.
or
You could make
tinctures or
cold cure with
edibles,
At
you
your
could
house.
retest it and put it back on the shelf again. You can re-COA it.
Sounds like someone just got a new shipment to send to New York. It sounds like. That's what that sounds like to me.
Covered in 7
I mean, listen, too, like, it sucks, right? The city shouldn't have done this. This whole thing sucks for a business operator to lose all that product. And, it's like back in the day, when your spot got hit, you got raided, you lost all your product, and you had to start over and grind over again. It's part of this game. It's always been part of this game. I can't wait till it's not part of this game. But it is.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Big shout out to the Suitor Music.
Yes, the Suitor Music
Came
coming in
yeah.
with a real super chat and didn't even say anything. And just so all of you know, that is the definition of a true super chat. I saw you guys in there talking about all of our chats are super chats, and no, chats are different. And there is a difference. There's a difference between a super chat and a real chat. Just like
I'm gonna give him an example.
One's super and one's not.
Just like there's a difference between Chads and Brads. There's a difference.
What's the difference?
Tyrones. Exactly. Oh boy. Oh man.
Right.
This. I mean, hopefully, law enforcement too in this jurisdiction learns from this case and acts accordingly going forward. But Dale, I'm not sure if that is necessarily going to be what happens with them in regards with this.
Oh no. Costa Mesa is a early conservative Republican stronghold.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And I've been on the law enforcement side of this and the politics that go on. Once you get under their skin, whatever you do or whatever you think it is, they're going to slow walk and drag their feet. And it's rarely actionable. They've got to act arbitrarily and capriciously. And then they're going to watch you because if anything walks out the back door, they're probably going to be there waiting for you. It's unfortunate.
And what
real.
Dale means by like they have to act arbitrarily and capriciously basically means you have to have an email that says we are effing this dude over, period. And you have to be able to produce that. That's like the level of evidence that you have to have that the city is blocking you somehow. So yeah, it's totally crazy how the state of this. I have a friend right now he's had a spot that he's been paying for 3 years, and the city is dragging their feet. So sometimes it's not necessarily you got under their skin. Sometimes it's not a lawsuit. Sometimes they just don't like cannabis. And I have a feeling that there's a lot of people probably in that Costa Mesa local government that feel that way, and old school holdover drug warriors. We have them sporadically in pockets around the state and pockets around other states. And they're holding out and they're still pushing their personal ideology about how it's the devil's lettuce and you're a bad person for even trying to open a dispensary. And they don't want to give you the license. They don't want you to have a dispensary. They don't want a dispensary in their locality, but they know they have to. So they're going to make this as long as possible and drag as much money out of you as possible. And what they don't understand is you're just hurting your local economy. You're stopping commerce. All of this stuff, like if you look at it logically and step out of like a real narrow-viewed ideology, you'll be able to see that this is actually a benefit. The commerce of cannabis are going to happen in your city regardless. The people who consume cannabis in your locality are consuming it whether you give them the thumbs up or not. So you might as well make this tax revenue off it, improve your roads, improve your schools, and improve whatever else you need in your city.
And on that, we're going to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And we're propelling at 2,600 RPMs. It's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
favorite, Orange County.
Oh yeah, I
It's
love me
funny
some
'cause-
Orange County. That's right, you guys. You guys are so funny, so funny. But coming up next, that's right, it's your favorite outlaw correspondent, who at one point in time did a cannabis crime too, and was a convicted felon, but didn't do no telling. That's right, is none other than Mr. Luke Scarmazzo.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Listen, it's Wednesday, so you know what we're doing. We're diving into your local outlaw news right now. And this one is very local to me. This one comes to you from Turlock, California, which is about 5 miles south of my home city of Modesto. So we're going to just dive right into this because, man, I just love, well, I don't know if I love covering this stuff, but I don't love covering it, actually. I will welcome the day that I am not High at Nine's outlaw correspondent, that I'm just the regular correspondent that covers other news that's interesting to our listeners and viewers. But this one is about outlaws, and this one is about the police bust illegal cannabis operation in Turlock. A multi-law enforcement agency operation in and around Turlock on Tuesday morning resulted in 5,500 marijuana plants being seized, along with 6 firearms recovered and 4 arrests, the Turlock Police Department reported. The operation was described by police department as sophisticated illegal black market cannabis cultivation operation. I feel like there's like a tagline in a book where they use the word sophisticated, illegal, black market, like all in the same sentence. Like it's like insert substance here. I don't know, but I'm just saying. Illegal cannabis sales have far outpaced the legal sales in California. You don't say. In 2021, as investigated by Politico, found that the illegal cannabis market was approaching $8 billion annually. That's with a B. Which was twice the legal market was doing that, which was twice what the legal market was doing that year. Illegal markets have become the target of the Unified Cannabis Enforcement Task Force under the California Department of Cannabis Control. The task force was founded in 2022 and started operations in 2023. Among the highlight, let me pause real quick. As if we didn't have enough things to fund, we had to create a task force in 2022 to eradicate cannabis from California in 2023. That's our priority right now. We'll come back to that. Among the highlights from the operation in 2023 was the seizure of almost 190,000 pounds of illegal cannabis, the eradication of almost 318,000 plants, and the seizure of 119 illegally possessed firearms. California is effectively decreasing the illegal cannabis market by leveraging the strength and knowledge of over 20 state agencies and departments, along with our local and federal partners. The UCETF's progress in the 20 reflects California's ongoing commitment to disrupting and dismantling illegal cannabis activity, stated Director Nicole Elliott of the Department of Cannabis Control. I look forward to working with our partners in 2024 to build this progress. The Turlock operation came under the notice of the Turlock Police Department Special Investigation Unit in February. The investigation revealed multiple addresses affiliated with the target location, and with 5 in the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Office jurisdiction, 2 of the city of Turlock, and 1 in city of Ceres. At 8:30 a.m. Tuesday, a coordinated effort to serve search warrants at all of the locations was initiated, and then they list all the addresses. There's like 5 or 6 different addresses. Arrested were, and then they list the names of the individuals that were arrested. There's 4 people ranging from age 29 to 62 were arrested and booked in possession of stolen firearm, possession of controlled substance. Oh no, this is a separate guy. Stephen Evans, number 62, or age 62, was arrested and booked for possession of a stolen firearm, possession of a controlled substance while armed, and health and safety violations. Aside from all of the other things that were going on, perhaps he was just rolling up to the house or something. I don't know. They just wanted to make sure they made the distinction that Stephen Evans was not part of the situation, but was arrested at the scene for some other stuff. Okay, Turlock Police Department partnered with the Stanislaus County's Sheriff's Office, the Merced County Sheriff's Office, the Ceres Police Department, the Modesto Police Department, the California Department of Cannabis Control, and the Cannabis Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation for the execution of these warrants, and their federal partners. That is a lot of agencies to move onto a single grow operation that you netted 5,500 plants on. I don't know, like, if a lot of people, our listeners, can wrap their minds around this, but I just listed off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 without their federal partners, because they don't list those. So there's 10 agencies there from multiple counties around the state that had to coordinate, bring personnel, make plans, do all this stuff. This is a multi-million-dollar operation that costs you, the taxpayer, this money to take off 5,500 plants. I just want to make that clear. Now, listen, I support safe communities. I support everybody doing what they need to make sure we have adequate funding to police officers where they do the work that needs to be done to serve and protect our communities. However, I do not agree when we have this huge fentanyl and opioid problem in our hometown of Modesto, Turlock, the entire Central Valley, really the entire country, but it's really concentrated in some of our rural areas. And we have this huge fentanyl and opioid problem where our peers are being affected and putting in hospitals and dying on a daily basis. And this is where we choose as a community to focus our law enforcement efforts. I believe we need to come back as a community and reprioritize where we are focusing these efforts, because I personally don't want my millions and millions of dollars of tax revenue and 10 different state agencies coordinating to get 5,500 plants on. I would rather you took 5,500 fentanyl pills off of the street to save one of these next kids that want to take one of these and don't know what's going on and kills themselves. Period. I'm going to end it on that note, but I will big up everything else. I want to say I want to love the community that comes together and supports all the safe and effective cannabis consumption. And if you really do want to do that, pull up on us down in LA this weekend. We're going to have a super packed event down there. And man, you can come over and celebrate this plant in a really, really, safe, positive, and fun fashion. That's Luke Scarmazzo coming to you for that High at 9 news. You know what it is. Kicking it back to my fellow correspondents. What do you guys got to say about this one?
Oh, man.
I mean, there's a lot here, right? Because this is the county that you grew up in. This is the county that arrested you, right? This is the county that basically hurt your family for a very long time. And so to see this happening there still, almost 20 years actually, 20 years later, it's been 20 years this year, is crazy. And also there's this double-edged sword, right? Because there's the local cannabis enforcement departments that were involved. And many operators, current licensed operators, feel that unlicensed operators need to be dealt with. And so they call for enforcement. So I feel almost a little bit for these people, because they're kind of damned if they do and damned if they don't, right? We say don't, criminalize cannabis, but get rid of this illegal grow over here so that my multi-million-dollar greenhouse isn't affected, right? I love that. And so there is this double-edged sword there, let's be really honest. Anybody who is a current license holder who's struggled at all, there has had to have been moments in your mind where you're like, if this damn illicit market wasn't here, maybe I wouldn't be burdened so much. And so it's a struggle.
I'm sure there's a lot of retailers that feel that same way.
Okay, now I'm glad you guys brought that point up, because that's a very, very good point, right? Because we do have that dynamic in the industry right now, where we have legal that are legal and traditional operators at the same time, and we have ones that are just one of either, right? And a lot of times we see these situations where they say, oh, the legal operator says, hey, go raid this spot down there, and that's okay and accepted in our industry because, hey, they're harming what we're trying to do in the industry to have an effective and safe regulated industry and continue to grow it and have investment, outside investment, and all those things need to have a secure place to land, right? But this is the thing. You don't have to call the police on them. And this is where, I know people have heard me rant on this before, but this is another free market principle. Listen, the market will weed these people out. There is a reason why if I walk up to Bevmo and there's a guy out in the parking lot selling bottles of beer, then I'm not going to stop and buy the bottle of beer from the guy in the parking lot at Bevmo. Because I know when I walk into Bevmo that product is safe, it's tested. There's an experience to my walking into it. I go in there, I know I'm in a safe and an effective environment. I know everything in there is tested. I know everything in there is legitimate. I'm paying for that. I'm okay with that. Okay, so now you take that same situation at a dispensary. If I'm walking up to a dispensary and some dude in the parking lot calls me to his car and says, "Hey, I got cookies for $20, bro," and shows me some bags, I'm not buying that. Because listen, I don't know what's going on in that situation. I'm not there to come just purchase whatever and whatever. I'm there to go to the dispensary, not only because I know it's safe, it's effective, it's tested. It's the experience of going to the dispensary. I'm going there and dealing with knowledgeable staff that are telling me, "Hey, look, we just got this in. This is something that you will like, Luke. This is a terpene profile that you like." These type of experiences are why the market will weed out the rest of the people that don't do it. Don't call the cops on them. Do better business. If you do better business, they won't patronize the people that do poor business. That's what weeds out those people. The illegal grow will get weeded out of that situation because people won't want to go to grab a pack from somebody that rolled up on them in a Ziploc bag. They don't want that experience anymore. So what will happen is you won't have to worry about those illegal grows. And if the state, now hear me here, if the state would lower this tax burden and allow these operators to come in and actually survive and make money, you won't have to pay 10 agencies to come raid a 5,500. They'll be paying taxes to you. Wow, that's a concept right there, right? Boom.
That's not the world we live in, Luke. That's not the world we live in. Inside of law enforcement, there are a lot of people anxious to go out and thump weed growers in the weed industry. And inside the policymakers and bureaucrats, they're standing around beating their meat all day long. They don't want to buck this local control rule we have. So what we have is slow motion to get any of these businesses up. And the illegal market's like, fuck this, we can just run and do this today. But we don't have the ideal situation. And in my view, until we get rid of this local control thing, we're going to continue to see headbutting over all this. Because if you got a legal business, I spend all this time, I don't want competition that's illegal. But before Prop 64 took effect, there were like 13 or 1,400 trap shops in LA. After they licensed them, there was never that many dispensaries in the whole goddamn state. Okay, so the reality is people want more of this, and the government's ready to give them. And with local control, you can't break through. And inside law enforcement, they're like, "Oh man, we get a chance to go thump some of these weed growers. They'll line up." I got the Western Slope up here, Luke. Where you were, you had a group that coordinated together. We had a group up here in El Dorado County that went from Tahoe down to the valley, called themselves the Western Slope, and they worked silently with the feds, but they had every police organization out there sniffing and searching, and they came after us. I know how these guys work, and I've also been inside the law enforcement in those meetings where they're talking about this. They say the stuff that they won't say out loud. I know what goes on in here, and it's a battle that the legal market's got their handcuffs on, and they're not going to be able to win until the politicians get out of the way. And I don't see that happening until we get rid of local control.
I agree with that, Dale. But I'm going to roll into this last story real quick. And I was inspired. What's that, Rico?
No, I was just gonna say I got a quick question for everybody.
For
it's kind of rhetorical, but this is alluding to something that Luke said that really touched me on that. It's like, why are you not going after these fentanyl folks? Like, as many of these dumbass busts that they're saying, like with cannabis busts, and they have like, oh yeah, we stopped this much. Look how much we took off the streets. How many times have you seen that with fentanyl? As much of a problem as fentanyl is, and as much of an issue it is, to the point where these cops are saying like, oh yeah, there's weed laced with fentanyl out there and all this other bullshit. Like, how many times have you seen them saying, oh yeah, there's a successful bust of these fentanyl dealers out there?
No, but that takes real police work.
It does. It does.
And they shoot back. They shoot back.
Well, not to mention they're crazy.
It takes an
They'll bite you
investment.
and shit.
it takes actual resources and investigative police work and actually cracking cases and getting into the street rather than just rolling onto Main Street and rolling into a illegal dispensary or an illegal grow that is in a huge, it takes no police work. You can walk right into them. So, that's the difference. And it's the low hanging fruit, and they'll continue to grab it as long as we make it a fruit that they can grab.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. I'm gonna jump into this last one, and Luke, you inspired me with the outlaw story, and you had a California outlaw story, so I went and I found a East Coast outlaw story for today. Yeah, I think you just may like this. More than 1,000 marijuana plants seized from properties in central Maine. Police seized more than 1,000 marijuana plants during 3 raids across Somerset County over the past several days. On March 18th, Somerset County Sheriff deputies raided a Perkins Street home in Norderwalk. That was followed by a pair of raids on Monday targeting homes in Thurston Hill Road and Madison and Upper Main Street in Norderwalk, according to the Waterville Morning Sentinel. As a result of the raids, deputies seized more than 1,000 marijuana plants, more than 30 pounds of processed marijuana and other drug material, the Sentinel reported. And Jiamin Lau, 29, was charged with illegal cultivation and marijuana and drug trafficking in connection with the Monday raids. Lau was then taken to the Somerset County Jail in East Madison, where she was released on $10,000 bail, according to the newspaper, and no one was arrested during the raid of the Perkins Street property, which was registered to an owner in New York, the Sentinel reported. They are just the latest large-scale illegal marijuana operations uncovered in Maine in recent months, and since the beginning of the new year, police have been active in busting large operations which have been found all over rural Maine, from Gulford to Sangerville in Pediascus County. I probably murdered that, sorry. To Coriana, it just goes on and on, basically all over Maine. These operations received greater security after the Penobos County Sheriff's Office found an illegal marijuana grow house in Carmel, where police seized 3,400 plants and 111 pounds of processed marijuana in late June. As of 2023, dragged on, police uncovered another large-scale marijuana operations in Dexter, Wilton, Machias, and other communities. A leaked federal government memo, first obtained by the conservative Daily Caller and published in August, estimates Maine has 270 large-scale illegal marijuana grows connected to organized crime groups in China alone. The memo's authors note that the money may be used to further crime in the U.S. or be sent back to China. Well, I mean, what else are they going to do with it? These operations generate an estimated $4.37 billion in revenue, and that's billions with a B, Luke. Similar operations there have been found in California, Oklahoma, and Oregon, and Maine's congressional delegation has twice pressed the U.S. Justice Department to crack down on these illegal marijuana operations, most recently on January 25th, 2024. In a quote, "We applaud Maine law enforcement for their continued efforts to investigate and shut down these illegal operations, and we encourage the Department of Justice and other federal partners to provide additional support for these efforts. These illegal growing operations are detrimental to Maine businesses that comply with state laws, and we urge the DOJ to shut them down." U.S. Senator Susan Collins and Angus King and U.S. Representative Chili Pinegri and Jared Golden said in their January letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland. It's not yet clear whether the operations uncovered in these latest raids are connected to others uncovered across Maine or to the crime network described in the federal memo. Well, what do you guys think about that? Big bus. Again, Luke, in Maine.
This is the thing. Let me say this real quick. And I'll let everybody else talk because I feel like I've been on the mic. But this is just the same. This is the same regurgitated racist policing law enforcement policies cloaked in 2024. So when you say things like, this money potentially could be going to illegal Chinese gangs and being sent back to China, that's the boogeyman. Right now in 2024, China is our boogeyman. That's no different than in 1980 saying it's getting sent to Russians, or in 1930 saying it's getting sent to minorities and Mexicans and blacks. It's the same goddamn thing. So stop with that
Until you
racist tendencies that you have for covering these type of busts, because they said that back when we were operating dispensaries, we were sending money to Al Qaeda. That was total BS. But it's a way to get
I
the
remember
public
that.
to get against you,
I
right?
remember that. They
It's
were
a way to
saying
get
that.
the pub. Yeah,
I
it's
remember
100% true. This is a tactic, a common tactic that they've used for 100 years to get the public to come against you. And this is, I'm going to call this out every time I see it. This has nothing to do with cannabis. That has to do with racism. Stop it.
Yeah, and until you have concrete proof that it came, and you show us the money trail, you show us
Yes.
the chain of this shit coming over, man. Like, stop saying this. It has potential to be linked to this. Like, it may, but until you have proof of that, and you can show this and share this with the public, I'm saying this is police propaganda.
I tell you, it probably has more of a potential to be tied to Warren Beatty.
The quote that
Warren
you
Buffett.
guys,
it has more of a potential to be tied to Warren Buffett.
Hold on, Luke. The quote that you guys are referencing is the quote, to my understanding, that came. Let me pull this up so I get this correct. I believe what you're saying is that this is in regards to what the DOJ is first federal memo attained by published in August. Maine has 270 large-scale legal marijuana grows that they believe to be affiliated with China. And so this is the U.S. government it's a federal government memo. That's the federal government saying that, not any individual person, Luke.
Oh, it's always been the U.S. government that's been saying that. That was my point. My point is that since 1930, it has been the U.S. government that has been using this tactic. It's not the common man or the common woman. Nobody cares if you just spewing your nonsense opinion. The problem that it is it's coming from the weight of the federal government. That's the problem.
Yeah, why do we invade Iraq and
Max.
Afghanistan when Saudi Arabia is the ones who attacked us?
Well, this is simple economics. If I'm paying, $3,000 a pound in Maine for weed, and I can lease a house and grow, enough to pay the mortgage on the goddamn place, which is what happens. Okay, and I hire Chinese or whatever. I mean, they're going to find any way they can to smear you. It's simple economics. If it costs, $5,000 a pound to bring it from California, and you can grow it for $2 in one of these, hustling, vegetation rooms in your house, whatever. That's what we see here. I mean, they were doing it in Sacramento, and they blame it on the Chinese. Oh, it's no. Anybody with a freaking spare room that has a generator, or whatever, is going to be growing weed. I went to a lot of places out in their barn. They hide their generators so you can't hear them. There's growing weed in the barn. It looks like they're throwing cows in there. Jeez. This is economics. There's a demand for weed. If you're going to sell it to me for $5,000 and I can grow it myself for $2,000, guess what? I'm looking for houses and I'm growing weed. It ain't rocket science.
Yeah, if Edward Snowden did not teach us anything else, they know everything about us. And if they're saying it's 270 grows, shut them down. Shut them down. Like, why are you drawing this shit out so you can have your propaganda campaign continue? Like,
Yep. They got to make sure
every
they get
word
more
you said, Luke.
It's a hobby horse they're going to ride.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to walk away from this, guys. It's a hobby horse. They can jump on it and get people geared. Oh, you're going after crime. No, you're not. You got the right, Luke. People are dropping dead from fentanyl. They should be out busting them and celebrating the bus. And how many guns do you find? And how many illegal aliens do you find? All that kind of shit. No. This is sexy, and it gets people's dander up, and it also slows up the advancement of the movement. It's like, we got too much crime involved in this. Yeah. You don't want to put resources in really fixing this, which is open up the green light and let people get the weed they want. You don't want to do that. It's easy to throw resources to cops. The cops will take your money all day long, go slash greenhouses and kick indoors. They love that. They get a chubby from that shit. Okay, so you're not going to fix it this way. This is it's basically bullshit propaganda.
Yep.
That's what I got
on
to
that
say
note. Man, spice in here today, man.
Yeah,
I like it, man. I love the energy in here today, Val. And sadly, Mandy had to bounce. But thank you all for joining us today for another episode of High at 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our super fans. Big love to the Suda Music today. Always showing love.
Shout out Suda Music.
Yes, getting their comments posted live on the big screen. Our live audience and online supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. To our vetted correspondents tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions to the table. Our production team, Cloud Media Partners, all the sponsors keeping the lights on, and our AV struggles to a minimum. As always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason we show up to read these headlines every single day. Thank you too, baby girl. It is Wednesday, March 27th, 2024. The show's over. You've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. Hope it was enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until tomorrow. My name is Rico Lamite, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News, cannabis industry's #1 daily news show. And the man with that energy today, man, I'm loving every bit of it, man. Luke Scarmazzo, why don't you take us out today, bro?
For sure. Thank you, Reek. Man, it's been a pleasure this morning. I really had a great show. I want to shout out to CBCB and Andre Especial, one of the best spots in Berkeley that you can go to. Please check her out, man. And in LA, March 30th, this Saturday, come to the Women's Canna Awards. It's going to be super live, super lit. Don't wait till Friday to get your ticket. I'm telling you, this is going to sell out, and then you're going to be hitting me on the phone, and I'm turning the thing off because I know it's going to be blowing up. So just get that thing now and get it out of the way. And remember this. When there's a shadow of a doubt, be the light.
I like that.
Yes, yes, indeed.
All righty. Oh, shit, my bad.